listening to the Energy is Love podcast.
269. I wrote that on my paper, and I immediately thought of 69.
I just said two of them. Like,
we don't 69 enough.
we don't. I don't know if we did it every day, would it be enough?
Twice a day.
Twice. Well,
Let's do it 69 times a day. We should try that once.
69, 60. My brain just broke.
6 to 90. From 6 to
See,
9.
your brain broke too.
So on June 9th.
On June 9th.
2022.
We
are going to start at 6 in the morning.
Okay.
And we are going to 69 one another.
Until 9?
69 times.
69 times.
During the time between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m.
Okay. All right.
I'm writing that down
Let's
right
do
now.
it.
June 9th equals...
Don't make plans. We're going to be busy.
Equals lots of 6 to 9.
How, like, what kind of...
That should be a thing.
Like, preparation
June
do you think we're going to
that.
need? Like, obviously lots of water.
Yeah, we're going to have to hydrate.
Yeah, we're going to have to hydrate. We're going to have to...
Do some stretching beforehand.
A little bit.
Yeah. Got to work out all the kinks in our bodies.
Yeah.
So then we can...
Are we going to alternate? Are we going to do it like... Are we going to try to... Like, let's do... Are we going to, like, wheelbarrow it? Is it going to be down? Like, you're going to... like.
There's lots of ways to 69.
Like, we should see how many different positions. Like, see if we can come up with 69 ways to 69.
Oh, my goodness. That's going to be a fun episode. Right. This is not that episode, folks.
We haven't done it yet.
No, but this is episode 269. And we literally have no idea what the fuck this episode's about yet. Yeah. So you're going to come along the journey with us. My cards match my shirt.
They do match your shirt, by the way. I like that shirt.
Do you? I've had this shirt for 100 years.
I know you have. Remember, there's a little tear in it that you got from Rough House and with Asher.
Oh, yeah? Mm-hmm. Where?
I think it got sewn. It was
on the side or something?
Yeah. Every time you wear it, I've noticed.
So lately we have been...
Are you all feeling awkward with
this shirt?
With me drawing attention to your sex appeal?
Not at all.
Are you sure?
Draw attention, baby. Feel free.
It's pretty hot. You look really good.
I shall put on my "How you doing" voice.
Oh, don't do that. I'm going to just like melt.
And panties hit the floor.
We're like, let's start practicing the positions now. Turn off the camera.
So I've been doing all of this. Like we have, if you follow us on Instagram, you've probably noticed the uptick in content that is being pushed out. And that's all part of our plan to double the podcast in the year 2022. So we also have more things coming, by the way, like super fucking exciting things that you're not even going to believe. Your mind will be blown, just to let you know. But I'm looking at all of our old episodes. I'm going back and just pulling a lot of content because it turns out we have a couple of episodes that we've done on the podcast.
We've done a few.
So we have some content that we can use. And because of how I feel with my body and my body image, I typically wear the same shirts on the podcast because those are the only shirts that I feel comfortable in.
Me too.
And rather than go and buy more t-shirts, because I'm just a t-shirt guy, right? Every now and then I'll wear something like this that has buttons, but most of the time it's a t-shirt. So I'm just noticing how it looks like the same episode over and over and over again.
Oh, really?
Because of the same shirts that are worn. There's like 3 shirts that I wear.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's okay.
We happen to both wear different shirts today.
We did. You inspired me.
Did I?
Yeah. Because I saw you were wearing that, which looks beautiful, by the way. I love your shoulders. I love when I can see your skin. Stephanie and I are nudists hiding in clothes. We're nudists hiding in plain sight.
We are.
If it was up to us, we would be nude. This would be a nude podcast. We still haven't done that nude episode.
Yeah, well, I think it's because they don't allow that on YouTube.
Can
you do the censors?
That would be so funny.
But I want to
just
pick my
blurry
censors.
Bars.
Yeah, is it just blurry bars, or I kind of want funny censors?
Do you? Do you want like watermelons over your boobs or something? Or headlights? I would have to stand up during the episode, so then you could see like what would be my emoji cock. What would that be? That would be funny. What would that be?
I think it would be the kissy wink face.
The kissy
You're
wink face.
I think that's what it would be.
Maybe we'll do that for the 300th episode.
Maybe not.
It's only 31 episodes away.
That's why I said maybe not.
That's almost.
Are you going to be
6 months?
All right. If you can keep those blur bars on, I'll do it.
What if we just do like a whole? So from like the neck down, it would just be this black bar, so you couldn't see anything from the lower, and we could totally be dressed. But
and just tell them we're naked.
Just tell them that we're naked. But we wouldn't lie. We'd be naked.
I was like, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should do it.
I couldn't do the being pretending to be naked.
Is it uncomfortable for you?
Real naked.
Is it uncomfortable for you to step into your, what's the right verbiage?
Pants?
No. Is it uncomfortable for you to step into having fuck, babe, I don't want to trigger you, sex? Like,
is it uncomfortable for me to step into sex?
Not, but like openly talking, as well as like embracing and owning your, not just your sexuality. That's not the correct word that I'm trying to find.
Can you just not worry about triggering me and say what it is? Because I don't know what the fuck you're saying. Last week I was like, I'll start an orgy, and you're like, are you okay stepping into sex? So I don't know where you're at. Like,
well, I know that was a hard episode for you.
Oh, well, because I was embarrassed.
Yes.
So like,
is it hard for you to talk openly about the sex and the naked and the like, the new, like all the things that we really enjoy?
Naked. Is it hard for me to talk about?
Do you know what I mean? Is it hard for you to talk about on the podcast?
I'm afraid of being judged.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Like, there's part of me that's like, nobody, like, if the people that are going to judge, I shouldn't care about. And there's a lot of people that will judge that I don't give a fuck about.
Right.
And then there's
a couple.
Well, yes, I am. I feel like.
Oh, we just sighed at the same time.
Did we?
Mine was a burp, though.
I will just say it. I like, for instance,
okay,
we talked about, I don't want the people in your life to, like, pity you because of me. They're like, oh, that poor guy, he's got such a crazy life.
Yeah.
Like, or think I'm just gross. So I feel like I'm afraid of, because of the people that mean a lot to you and where you go frequently and the people that you're hanging around with, how important they are to you, that if they think I'm gross, and just that you'll think I'm gross. I'm afraid that they will influence your judgment on me.
Let's go down that rabbit hole. Why? Let's just dip our toe in that water.
Let's go back to talking about 69 and let's just do that. That's easier.
You've known me for
about my feelings.
You've known me for a few years.
Yes. Yes.
Have you seen?
Did you be influenced before?
No, definitely. You've seen me be influenced before. But do people like, obviously I'm not, nobody's going to change my opinion about you other than you. You're the only one that has the ability to do that.
If I keep telling you all the things that's real about me,
then I'm only falling in love with you more.
So you say, but it's that thing that we talked about. I'm afraid there's going to be that moment where you're just like,
the one thing.
Nope, that's too much.
Yeah, but we know that already, that one thing doesn't exist.
Well, we don't know that.
Yeah, we do. Think of all the things. Are you still holding on to something that you're like, if he ever really finds out that this thing, then that might be the one thing? Like, there's just not that thing.
I'm trying to, like... No, I don't... There's not one thing that... Like, I'm sure there's something that you don't know, right? And I'm sure there's something if we touched on it, then I would be like, oh, yeah, I'm not telling you that. But nothing's coming to mind. But there's, like, we're humans. There's got to be something, right? And we find out new things about each other all the time. But my fear is that it's just going to become too much. Or that somebody's going to
influence my opinion.
Not be quite as brazen as me.
I like how brazen you are.
Be a little more wholesome.
No.
I'm not. So it's just kind of, come on. I grew up in Mormon culture. Of course, I'm afraid that I'm too much.
Yeah.
That my sexuality is too much. That my hunger and desire is too much. And I'm supposed to be more ladylike.
Yeah.
That's just.
You don't need to be.
That's just false. And that's just making people feel bad about themselves.
Right.
However, it makes me feel bad about myself. It's not right, and nobody should feel that, no matter what they do or don't do sexually. There is nothing that they should feel bad about. However, I judge myself.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, fuck no. I get to own all my stuff. I get to own my pussy.
Yes.
And then I get the pleasure. I get all of it. I get to own that. And it is important and it's powerful. And I walk around like just in my power.
Yeah.
And then other times I'm like, oh my God, I'm just gonna I don't care. Ring the doorbell. I'm not answering. I will not make eye contact with anybody. It's just kind of a flow thing.
There's I'm realizing as we're sitting here talking about this and I ask you this question.
I get nervous. I don't think I took a breath the entire time. I just
You can breathe because I'm going to talk.
Okay. Thank God.
Because I can see how society, culture, where we live, all these different variables and factors play into why it's difficult for you as a woman to openly discuss and talk about sex, as well as what you desire and what turns you on, what all those different things, the pleasure, the joy, the excitement, the intimacy, the straight up fucking, the June 9th of 69ing. That's a thing. We just made that.
I think we did.
Yeah.
Or maybe
June
it's
9th
already
is 69 day.
I feel like.
Hold on.
Okay.
But it's difficult for me too.
Okay.
And obviously for different reasons. My hesitation is coming off like a creep. My hesitation is being viewed as that stereotypical man that thinks nothing, only thinks about sex all the time and judges, not necessarily the opposite sex, but whatever. I'm trying to say that in a way that isn't heteronormative. But yeah, that's the stereotype for men, right? Think nothing, all we think about sex. So I have to take that into consideration when we talk about sex on this podcast. I don't have to, but I do, because I don't want to come off as that pervy, gross, chauvinistic, guy that just thinks nothing about, anything else other than just sex all the time. I think about sex a lot.
Yeah. But it's also the way the society views it. It's also acceptable
that men think
and expect, because it's if men think about sex, they're
but there's this thing where it might be acceptable, but it's still shamed.
It's still shamed.
It might be acceptable, but it's still you shouldn't think about sex all the time. You should be able to control yourself. And if you think about sex all the time, or then you have some sort of sex addiction.
Oh, right.
Right. Yeah. We don't need to go down all this.
I don't know. I kind of want to.
Okay.
Why not? Why are we shying away from it?
Correct. Yeah. Why are we shying away from it?
Men are a bunch of sex addicts and women are a bunch of all the labels that they give.
Right.
You're not allowed to think about it too much, but women aren't allowed to think about it at all. They're supposed to, the pressure that it feels they're supposed to provide. But they're not allowed to really getting into women really accepting themselves and putting their pleasure. I feel like I just got really like spacey. I got so nervous. I'm like, I'm not allowed to say that. You're talking. I just completely went into some weird.
I just took a drink, my love.
Oh, it's not. I didn't say it was your fault.
I was totally listening.
Yeah, you didn't do anything wrong.
Okay.
My trip. Fuck. Okay. Men aren't allowed to want it too much, and women aren't allowed to want it at all. It's like, and it's not even about what it's been. Like, this is where we're shifting. This is where culture is shifting. It's not even women were supposed to perform as opposed to enjoy. What does your role feel like? What does the male's role? Because we're like perform like you're the best in the world, and it's all about making it for the guys. it's that was the job, is to build up the guys and make the guys feel good, and everything is just all of that, and our pleasure just didn't matter.
Come second or not at all.
It didn't matter.
Get
as
it?
long as
that's innuendo number one.
Come second or not all.
Right. Come meaning orgasm.
And this is where everybody's changing. Like, women have the right to speak up. Men have the right to speak up. This is where it is changing, but there's still like that old story that's there.
I don't know if men have the right to speak up.
Okay, so what is like, that's one perspective.
Yeah.
So what is another
so like
perspective?
the flip of that for the masculine would be that somehow I have to contain it. And if I can't contain it, then I'm trying to think of like the legitimate way that I feel about it. Because I mean, I have felt this in the context of our relationship, and it's not, you didn't make me feel this way. Mm-hmm. I think it's just the dynamics of it. And it was probably a lot more early on, even though I still feel it sometimes because it's so ingrained. Right. But the idea is like, I have to control my sexual desire, my sexual urge. Okay. Otherwise it's too overwhelming and it's too much. And then it becomes like, seriously, you're like, I mean, how many times sometimes I'm constantly pawing at you, right? And grabbing you in some form or fashion, in some sexual manner, right? Yeah. And there's times where you're just like, dude, like, enough, or like at this moment I need, connection, and I need, communication. You can't just grab my ass all the time.
I communicate.
You do communicate.
And then what happens?
And then I hear that.
But what happens?
What happens?
So you're pawing at me and I communicate that that's not where I'm at. By the way, I paw at you. So when I'm not in that space and I communicate that to you, how do I communicate it to you?
You usually do it very well.
Give me an example. How do I communicate that? Am I like, oh, all you think about is sex? Or
no.
You're like, no. Or like, why are you always grabbing me? Keep your hands to yourself.
No, you don't communicate it that way at all. How
do I communicate it?
You're like, hey, right now, I'm not in that space, and it's not to say I don't want to get there, but I need, X, Y, and Z right now, not A, B, and C. Ass boobs. C word. C word. The C is the C word.
How does it make you feel?
We can actually say cunt.
We can say cunt.
There's nothing wrong with the word cunt.
There's nothing wrong with the word cunt.
So.
Cunt power.
Yeah. Ass boobs and cunt.
How does that feel when I communicate in that way? That you're not doing anything wrong, but this is what I need.
Totally distracted and squirreled.
Because we said cunt?
No, because we said ABC, and I'm like, ass, boobs, and cunt. Yeah, give me some A and C up in here.
What about ass, boobs, and cock?
That's good. I mean, if you have all three
of
those.
What about neck and nipples and...
There are so many different things.
There's a whole body.
Yeah, there is a whole body.
There's a whole body to drink in.
Yeah, and I do. I mean, you help me remember that sometimes because I get very C-word oriented.
You do. I've got a whole body.
Yes. That is just carrying around your C word.
I'm asking how my communication makes you feel. Does it make you feel like you're doing something wrong?
Sometimes.
Okay.
But that's not your fault.
Is it? Is it the way I'm communicating, or
no,
is it
not at all. It's
history?
just my own internal dialogue.
Okay.
That's all. I mean, it comes down to
I didn't think
like
it was going to go that way.
It's not all the time.
Yeah.
The majority of the time, it doesn't make me feel bad at all. It's like, oh, thank you so much for communicating that, right? That's super helpful and beneficial and good. But then, of course, there are those times where I feel like I have been corrected and I've done something wrong. and then it shuts me down and I feel bad. But that's not your fault. Don't stop communicating with me.
I'm not going to.
That's just my narrative and
I'm
my
push
internal.
myself if it's not where I'm at.
Exactly. That's just my internal dialogue. So.
What about when I communicate the opposite?
Desire?
Yeah.
That's a weird thing too, I think.
Oh.
Because sometimes you communicate your desire and I'm like, hell yeah. But then it still doesn't quite I mean, it's all of these things of like the women have the brakes or control the brakes in a relationship, right? So when it comes to sex, it's like I am just full on throttle and then you're the brake. And then when you say, hey, I'm going to let off the brake, I'm like, sweet. But I think sometimes that full on throttle is overwhelming and too much. Even if you're letting off the brakes, it's like, hey, we have to accelerate, it's not 0 to 100 in 3.2 seconds. It's like, let's accelerate up this path a little bit. My brakes are off and I'm excited, but yet, do you know what I mean? It's not all the time, obviously, but.
I don't know that you, like, first of all, I don't find that true because there's definitely times I'm like, it's not just me that has the brakes. Like you put the brakes on a lot.
Yeah.
I'm confused because I want to go back to the accelerator brakes because we've had like in-depth conversation about that. Like I need like help in easing my brakes off because then I am all throttle.
You know what's so funny? Go ahead.
But I'm trying to remember my question. I don't feel like you answered it, but I got confused. I got triggered is why I got confused. I got scared because when I was like, well, what about when I'm like desire and showing you that and you're like, that's also weird. I'm like, I know I'm not supposed to have desire. Like it hit me in that fear at the beginning that women aren't supposed to, like they're wrong for having desire. So I heard that and I was trying really hard not to, but it like snuck in.
You know what's so funny?
So I was having a hard time listening.
We've been together for a long time and we're sitting in the comfort of our own home, just you and me.
Oh.
And we're talking about sex in the context of our relationship. Yeah. And it's hard and awkward and we're both nervous. Do
you think we'd be so nervous if it was just us instead of like...
I'm not nervous about the fucking podcast at all.
I'm nervous about the podcast.
Because I get nervous when we talk about these conversations, even when we're outside of lights, camera, and action, because I don't ever want to offend you, upset you, hurt you, make you feel bad. And the whole thing is like, that's what I feel like I have to, that's what I feel like I have to tamper. So like, if I don't contain my sexual hunger, it's too much and it's too overwhelming. And I don't ever want to be too much and overwhelm you. Do you know what I mean? And so there's definitely times where we throw all the brakes off and we go hog wild.
We do that quite often.
Yeah, we have. I mean, if you're listening, just so you know, Stephanie and I have a really healthy sex life.
Especially when you say it like that.
Right. We like the sex and we do it.
I don't want to talk about it anymore. That was
guy.
Awkward.
Not with that guy. Hey, Steph.
Stop.
Okay. We're going to fuck tonight?
Oh, my God.
We could definitely do a better job, I think, when it comes to just this context or this conversation in the context of our relationship.
You know, we are we're sexually frustrated right now.
Yes.
We're not having the sex that we normally have. We're not having the sex that as frequent sex as we're not having that. We have a lot of naked time. We have a lot of all over the place.
Normally we do.
Like sexy. We get fucking naughty.
Yes.
I think. I don't know. For me.
Yeah, I do too.
I like the things that I can't talk about.
Why?
Well, first of all, you want to fuck tonight. Didn't really create it.
I was being silly.
Whatever.
Here, let me say it in a different voice.
No, forget it. Anyways, we have
hey, Steph.
a lot going on. You don't get a hey Steph me right now. You just
What?
take your hay stuff and shove it up your own ass. Okay. My ass is off limits. Take that and smoke it. We have too much going on in our house right now to allow us the freedom. It's like it used to be when we used to have a house full of people. Now we have a house full of people.
Yeah.
And so we don't, like, we used to sneak out to the garage and get it on. And now we don't.
Yeah, I know.
Hard.
I mean, currently, right? This is.
Yeah,
like,
so maybe that's why it's like kind of hard right now. It's not an innuendo.
It could be. I'm sure it is a factor.
I didn't feel like we were in a bad place. I felt like it was just our circumstances.
Yeah, but
until
totally is.
this conversation. And now I'm like, oh, we are not connecting. Like, now
It's just our circumstances.
Uncomfortable. Like, it was before, it was just like kind of uncomfortable about how much I was going to say and like express, because I'm nervous, because I was like feeling very like able to express, just nervous about what I was going to say and how much I was going to admit to on the podcast. But now I am feeling like distance from you. Now there's like,
what do you think
there's a
triggered that?
mountain here. And
What do you
I'm
think
kind of
triggered
sad.
that?
I can't hide behind it.
What do you think triggered that?
I don't know. But it's there.
See, that's the fear that I have, is that we're going to talk about sex and it's going to create that mountain.
That comment helped. Thank you.
I know it doesn't help.
It wasn't talking about sex. It's coming up against, I think, your defenses and just how it felt.
Am I
like,
defensive about sex?
I don't know. You're sitting there. You're very closed off. Your arms are folded.
Do you know
You're kind of like intense.
Do you know why my arms are folded?
Because you're shutting off.
Because I'm self-conscious about my stomach
Yeah.
and feeling fat in the shirt that's too small for me.
I think you look hot as hell.
Well, I appreciate
doesn't
that.
change the
but
way
that's
you
why my
feel.
arms are folded.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Well,
I can
go ahead.
I can sit like this and fold my arms, or I can sit like this and fold my arms. Yeah. If you're only listening, I went from one side to the other.
Yeah. This doesn't work for me.
Well, how can we talk about this so that it does work for
Well,
you? How can we go into this?
I didn't think that we were in a place where we couldn't talk about it. And it's like, I don't know, maybe we'll just say the thing. Like, I don't always want to talk about extensive fantasies. I don't always want to talk about. I don't feel safe right now.
Is that
I was really excited to have this conversation, and now I feel, boy. I'm having other things coming up right now. And I don't know if it's actually pertinent to this or if it's just stacking on, you know,
Yeah.
when you start spiraling.
Yeah, and then all the stuff that you've been keeping at bay comes flooding in.
Like at this moment, I'm like, wow. I don't like the way that this turned. This is, I feel like this is a rift right now. And I did not have awareness of this rift between us. And now I do.
Well, what would you like to do, my love?
I don't know.
Would you like to pretend that we aren't recording an episode of the podcast and just try to go through this? Or do you want to transition and go somewhere else? I think it would be beneficial to go through this and talk right now. But I know that sometimes you don't like.
Well, I'm not going to be able to do anything else. So we can transition out and how can I go over the, like, hold on, let me try and, because I am like ready to flee.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm done. I'm not recording this episode. I don't care what you do with it. I'm not talking to you. Like, I'm very defensive. Like, how like, I feel like what has just happened, what is triggering me is like, after everything, it's still not enough. Everything that I've done is still not enough. I'm still like, are you like, I've got my, I feel like I need to protect myself. Like, this just opened in the, I feel like I feel betrayed. Like, if this was like what was happening, then I felt safe to talk to you about sex because I thought we were communicating effectively with each other. And I feel like you just blindsided me, which, regardless of whether it's true or not, I don't know. Like, I'm definitely activated.
Yeah.
But that's what my inside feels like right now. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I don't trust you right now. I'm like, what was your goal here? And after, like, I don't know how to stay in this right now because I felt good and I felt confident. And now I'm like, fuck you.
Do you know
our sex? Like, fine. Do your thing.
Do you know at what point it shifted?
I don't. I'm just having awareness of it and it's getting really intense.
Can we seize this opportunity, baby? Because
I think you need to use my name right now.
Stephanie.
Thank you.
Can we seize this opportunity right now and go into this? I can help you.
Okay, I don't want you to help me. I don't trust you right now to help me.
I understand you don't trust me right now.
But anything could shift right now, and I trust you immensely.
Yeah.
Just like this has like shifted. So like when I say I don't, like, that is my defense. That's my trigger coming up because I hear that immediately and I'm like, yeah, I fucking do. I trust you. I don't trust you with sex right now, but I trust you.
So you said some things just a few seconds ago where it's like, really, that's not enough. Like, I'm not enough. Like, you know, all of those things that you just got done saying, I feel like are stemming from trauma and pain and wound from the past. And they're coming out now in this moment. So something activated that.
Yeah, something did.
That wound. And now that's what's coming out. It's not necessarily the conversation that we had, or it's not necessarily this silly podcast conversation about sex and trying to communicate about it. But something triggered that wound. So we could go into that wound. Because granted, I have said some things that aren't the best in the sense on this episode, right? Struggled to try to communicate effectively what I was trying to say and what I was trying to express, and kind of
did a really good job.
Fucked my way through it.
So you got to do that to get the words out.
Right, sometimes. But obviously, if we step outside of this moment, you know how much I love you. And you know how connected we are. And you know how safe you feel in my arms and all those different things.
Please don't reassure me.
Okay. So my question is, would you like to go into that trauma and into that wound a little bit?
My hesitant to do that isn't because I'm afraid, because I am so triggered right now and I'm like wanting you to speak and you did a good job. I'm afraid of being hurtful and mean. So I'm not, I'm reactive and I don't want to be reactive all over you. And so that's why I'm nervous about it. So do I want to go into it and figure it out and work with you? Yes. Also, like, this is why I withdraw a lot with this and go in and deal with shit myself.
So that you don't hurt on the outside.
So I don't, like, burn the world around me.
So we could do some IFS right here.
Is this payback?
It has nothing to do with payback.
Fucker.
No.
Last week you were like, I don't like that. So this week you're in the hot seat.
It's not payback in the slightest.
I don't like the hot seat.
I promise, not at all.
Okay. You know what? Let's do it.
As much or as little as you'd like, right?
No, let's do it.
So
we'll see what happens.
what I'd like to speak to, or who I'd like to speak to first, is
Careful. You can talk to my manager because she's got a knife.
that. Yes. What is she protecting right now?
Me. I have to protect me. I have to protect because I've had to watch my back so much. And it feels like, oh, she's telling me this is old behaviors and I've got to watch my back right now. And when I have to watch my back, I don't really allow people the ability to get close.
When you say old behaviors, what do you mean?
I don't know if I want to do that.
Well, can we get your manager to sit down?
That's what I'm trying. I'm trying because she's gonna like start throwing some low punches here in a minute, and that's not what I'm comfortable with. Hold on.
You're okay.
It's all in my head, and I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm not letting you. I'm like, I don't need I will do it myself. I will take it. Fuck.
Yeah.
I still can't allow
I do the same thing.
Oh, I know you do, and it drives me nuts.
I do the same thing where I'm like, hold on a minute. I see where you're going.
I know what to do.
And instead, I'm going to distract with all these other things
right.
instead of where we actually need to go.
Try again. I'm going to try and, ooh, my guard is up so high.
It comes up really high sometimes in the context of sex.
This was going to be a fun conversation. I was excited.
Yeah.
This is triggering because it's that thing of where I think I don't find out until after, and I find out with pain that we're not in a good place. It's like, you don't talk to me. This is past. You don't talk to me. You just surprise me with things. And so this is what that feels like. And
and in the past, that has come with pain.
Very much.
Yeah.
And so I'm struggling. I don't know how to break through this because I feel like somebody else could guide me right now. But like, I'm looking at you like,
yeah,
I hate having to not be able to relax. And I have to like keep an eye on things in our relationship.
Are you comfortable?
No. I'm so mad that this conversation flipped this way. I'm so mad because I feel so confident. I feel secure in our sex life. I feel confident in our sex life. I feel like we have a really good give and take, receive, really share. Like we have really good, like we're not, like I feel like we were really pleasure oriented for the other person and also allow ourselves pleasure. I feel confident, and that's what it is. I felt you took away my confidence, and that's what the voice says. Now, this isn't what you've done. Okay. This is what the part of me is like. I felt safe here, and this is hard for me to feel safe here. And I finally feel safe here, and you just swept it all away again. And now I'm not safe. It's the same things. It's the same. And so my defense, I'm like that. God damn it.
Yeah. That sense of feeling safe and safe to move and safe to go forward and safe to open up and safe to express and safe to connect and literally safe to take your clothes off and be vulnerable, literally. Right?
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, your knees are taken out from underneath you.
Yep.
So I think it may have been some of the context of the earlier conversation where I was talking about having to hold things back and not necessarily expressing all the things. And if I express all the things, then it'll be too much and too overwhelming. And so it may have triggered in some way of hiding and covering up and not, showing you and sharing with you and expressing everything with you.
Probably. I'm sure that has something to do with it, but I didn't notice it until I don't even remember how I said it now. But when I show you my desire, which I feel like I do a lot. Like I felt safe being what I considered before dirty. I felt safe showing you my dirty. And you were just like, that's too much. And that just like threw me. So that's where it is. So maybe all of the stuff and what you said had a part of it. And I'm sure that's in there now, but I didn't like hit the until.
So if I'm understanding you.
I don't know that I'm understanding you. Good luck.
It was very triggering for you, and it felt like you were able to share and open up and show me your, I mean, what would be a better word than dirty? Because it's not dirty.
It's not, but that's all I feel right now.
Your desire.
My sensual self.
Yes,
my
your
sensuality. That was allowed. Now I don't feel allowed with you. Like, I don't, fuck.
So I think this, truthfully, Steph, I think this goes back to what we were very, very first trained to talk about.
Which was what?
How women feel stifled and unable to, because I was originally trying to ask you that question of like, is it hard for you to share your sensuality on this podcast and talk openly about your desires and your hungers and the things that you enjoy and the pleasure? And you're like, yeah, it is hard for me. And I think it's hard for you because of how much risk is involved, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like when I do open up and when I do express these things, it's viewed as a slut. It's viewed as dirty. It's used against me. It's a catch-22, right? I might enjoy this thing once or twice or maybe on, Saturdays, but then it's used against me every other day of the week.
Yeah. And that's big. That's really big. And it's also having to be I don't know why. I guess it's because it's all wrapped up, but it's also having to be sexual when you don't want to be.
Yeah.
And so that's like mixed in this pot right now because I don't like, there's a lot of sexual trauma here. I don't like trying to be intimate when I don't feel safe. And the last couple months, I have not had a safe feeling. And it's getting worse. I don't feel safe. My environment has been rocked. The things that are coming into my environment right now are not safe. And I still have to keep our relationship thriving and going. And I was thinking I was doing a good job. And you're like, and like, there's nothing wrong, but now it's like, I don't feel safe. I feel like if I don't keep you sexually satisfied, our relationship isn't safe. And then on the other hand, I'm like, if that's my responsibility, fuck this relationship. I know it's not. Well, I don't know it's not. It feels like it is actually. I feel like that's a big part. So there's so much pressure for that. And then it takes me a while to get there lately. Now, I'm not always hard to get there. Like my accelerator is strong and powerful, but my trauma brakes are not. I can't. So my desire was just made wrong. And on top of how hard it's been for me to keep things, like this has been hard. The sex we've had has not been easy. And I feel like if I don't, you're just going to go get it somewhere else. Nothing is safe in my world right now. And then my desire and showing you the things that I like was safe, and that just got taken away. Even though you didn't do that. I heard that. Like, you didn't do anything wrong here. This is all my trauma talking. I mean, I don't know. I also am not going to free you and take things off of you because that's not my job to make sure you're okay. But I also want to make sure that I'm not bleeding all over you, which I feel like I'm doing. So I don't know what the balance is there. Do I come in and rescue you or not? Like, how do I take accountability for my actions and my trauma and also not allow my trauma to come in and rescue? And I don't know what the healthy balance is because I'm very much bleeding right now. And I don't want to bleed all over you. I don't know how to do this in a healthy way. I'm like, we need help because this isn't your job to sort this out. But you wanted to walk me through it, mister. You wanted to sit here and do it.
Well, I'm glad your manager put down her knife. At least she was willing to set down the stab me knife for a minute. Right now, our life is in turmoil and in upheaval. And it's not the end of the world. It's just the present circumstances. Stephanie's mom is recovering at our house because of geographical locations and the ability for people to travel and things like that. It makes the most sense for her to be recovering in our home, which entails us sleeping in our kitchen, which isn't that big of a deal. It's a temporary thing, but it has been that way for a while, and it definitely is affecting us. I hear everything that you're saying, and I know, like, the context of the beginning of this conversation, I wasn't trying to have a conversation about what we're currently going through.
I wasn't either.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were just kind of having a fun conversation about sex and different things like that.
I was excited to have it.
Yeah. But in wonderful, beautiful way that the universe does, this is a big deal for us right now.
It is.
And I think that's probably why all of this is kind of coming to the surface. I know how difficult it is for you. For me, because you express beautifully everything that you're feeling right now and everything that you're going through, strictly in the context of where we're currently at in our life and what we're dealing with and what we're facing, right? And then on top of that, sex in the context of what we're dealing with and what we're facing and what we're going through right now. I miss the fuck out of you. And I crave you like air. I have to breathe you in. I have to be able to hold you and connect to you and feel you physically and like sensually and intimately. And we have had a very difficult time getting that time together. I also know how difficult this time period is for you because I've been here with you, right? Witnessing it all. I don't know what to do. So what I've tried to do is just support in the best way that I can. When it comes to that dynamic of like, I never, Stephanie, you have to hear me, I never want you to feel obligated to satisfy me sexually, especially when you're in a super activated place and you don't feel safe. That is not needed.
I know that.
In the slightest.
You don't put that pressure on me.
What's important to me is that you feel connected to me for two reasons. I need that, and I know you do too. So there's a part of me that has been trying to figure out how to maneuver these waters of our sexual connection and intimacy during this really fucked activated time period of our life. Because I feel like because of who you and I are, because of our relationship, if we just took our intimacy and our connection and we set it aside and we said, hey, we're going to come back to that once we get through this time period, I'm fully confident that we would be able to do that and we would come back to it.
Yeah. But
at the same time, our connection and our intimacy strengthens us. Mm-hmm. And it is something that is like, it helps in moments like this, because it helps in creating a sense of safety and connection and support and bonding with each other. So there's a part of me that knows that as well.
Yeah.
And has been trying to figure out how to maneuver through that. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Without trying to make you feel shame, make you feel all these different things that you're feeling right now.
None of these things that I'm feeling right now are your fault, though.
I know. I'm not taking them as my fault.
There's a lot of things that are happening that are triggering childhood trauma and re-traumatizing.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of things that are going down right now that are just not okay.
Yeah. There's another factor too.
What's that?
Because obviously it's not one thing, right? It's never just one thing.
Never just one thing.
I use sex to distract during times of stress and activation.
Yeah.
That's one of my coping mechanisms. And so there's a part of it that this is how in the past, right? Even though it is still part of my chemical makeup in a sense, but I will use sex to help me feel safe and to help me feel calm and to help me relax during time periods of stress and like high level stress, right? The stuff that we've been going through. So there's a part of it that is that too. That's why I think I feel so sexually drawn to you right now. Like during this time period, I've wanted the freakiest fucking greatest sex in the whole wide world. The who knows how long ago, a week ago, something like that, we had fun sex on our exercise ball, and it was fun. And I'm like, I want that all day long, every day. There's so many things that I want right now in regards to our connection and our intimacy and our sex and our desire, our hunger, all those things, because I am craving you so much, and also because it helps me not feel like, it helps me stay sane. It helps me stay safe. It's like just this comforting thing that, you know, helps me in these times. So that's a factor as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, by and large, we're doing the best that we can. And
we are doing the best we can.
Most days we do a pretty good job. And I'm trying to hear, because we process sex so differently, and we process sex like really, really differently.
Yeah.
And it is legitimately hard for me sometimes to remember how you process it, and to not realize that you don't process it the same way that I do. So like, for example, even outside of the context of what we're currently going through and experiencing, just in our regular everyday life, right? When things are not so intense, I have to consciously remind myself that you need connection before sex. And it's so hard for me to remember that. For me, sex is connection. But because you have been able to express that and communicate that to me over the course of our relationship, and really like, we've really embraced that, I want connection first, because it makes the sex all the more incredible and all the much better, right? But it's not my default.
Yeah. So
I have to constantly try to remember and remind myself of that.
I thank you for trying. Thank you for saying that. Sex has always been it's been used to hurt me. It was never like, sex was just always crappy. I was an object, and it was literally used to hurt me. So all I know how to do is check out during sex. Check out, check out, check out. It's not enjoyable. In the past, right? It's that perform. It's like somebody else comes in and takes over. And it's hard for me. There's times something will happen during that, like just even like if I turn my head and then it'll trigger me because I'm like going someplace else. I'm checking out so I don't have to feel what's happening to me.
It can be that intense, huh?
So out of nowhere, like we're fine, I'm in it, and then I turn my head over and I see like I stare off first, and it's just like boom. I have to work so hard to stay connected. When we're connected, I don't have to work to stay connected. I don't like having, the phrase in my head is like robot sex. I don't like having, I mean, I can do it. Like I could do it right now. I could turn and like flip a switch and turn into the biggest freak you've ever seen and have like no connection whatsoever.
I don't like going through the motions either.
I don't like that. So I do
I
want to be with you during sex. I don't want to be in some safe place.
Yeah.
I don't want to be
disassociated.
And I'm afraid to tell you that because I'm afraid that all you're going to see is that and just see my wound and then be disgusted by me because there's so much wound. It is too painful for me to have sex when it's not connected. So I choose to not do that anymore. And it's not like a choice right now. I just don't do that.
I'm grateful.
And, like I'm thinking like I can maybe find more balance in that and not have to be so connected all the time. But also when I'm connected, you get me. And I have a lot of I'm just learning how to call it healthy sexual energy because I always thought it was wrong. And my sexual energy is intense and it is all the things.
It's very powerful.
And it does not have a lot of boundaries in the connected space, in the safe space. Like, of course, consent is always,
I think it's safe to say that that sexual energy that you possess is limitless.
But it takes connection for me to unleash the power.
Yeah, and that's important.
I'm still hearing that that's too much for you. That's what I've been, like, I held back. And I'm trying really hard to not hear that. But I hear that. I heard that.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how to move around that right now. I don't know how to.
Do you have a sense? We're not going to go into this. This isn't another IFS moment. Brought to you by the Energy is Love podcast. Do you have a sense of where that thing originated, meaning I am too much? Not even in the context of just sex, because it's not just in sex, right? Do you just have some awareness of where that could?
That is absolutely going into IFS. What the fuck are you talking about?
All I'm doing is asking if you have awareness because I have a follow-up question.
Do I have awareness? I don't know. Let me try.
You don't have to.
Okay, well then, no.
It's just something that's really important, and it would be something that I would definitely highly recommend you go into in therapy.
And I probably already have. It's probably something I blocked. My amazing witchy lady's like, remember you said that? I'm like, I didn't, but now I do. She can.
It's like those moments with Ash where he's like, what are you talking about? I didn't say that. Right? You're crazy. You're like, no, no.
Yeah.
I don't ever remember you telling me to be home at 5:00. You mean the 15 fucking times we told you before you left the house? Didn't happen.
Yeah, you said you were going to come get me. I heard you.
Yeah, that narrative of I am too much. You and I both actually have that. And not just in the context of sex.
Yeah. I've got a good sense of it originating from the person who taught me that. But I can't tell you when.
Yeah.
But I can see I can see enough of it for your follow-up question.
Good.
What's your follow-up question?
It was just it wasn't necessarily a follow-up question. It was just, it would be a good idea to go into that
Oh, a follow-up statement?
in therapy.
It was a follow-up directive.
Yeah. Not a directive.
It was a follow-up directive. You're like,
just a fucking idea.
it was an idea. You're like, I got a follow-up question. Order. I don't feel order. I'm trying to make jokes now because this is my trauma coming in.
It's okay.
I want to
We
be
can
done
relax
with this.
a little bit.
So I'm going to come in and lighten the mood and make jokes to be safe.
Yes.
So I'm going to start doing that. We can lighten the mood and we can change directions, but I don't want to do it that way.
Stephanie, you are safe. Right now.
I don't know why that's hard to hear.
Look at all the fun little things we have on our table.
You know, I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that this was a fun episode.
No, it wasn't.
We should probably do this episode again next week.
I am actually, what's Corey doing next week? I think you need to have him come back and co-host the podcast. I'm taking next week off. I've got some running to do.
The last thing I'll say, because I was going to mention it earlier, just in the context of like being able to talk about sex openly, as well as like own your own sexual desires, hunger, power, all those things, right? That sexual energy that you're talking about, that healthy sexual energy, being able to really own that. You posted, actually, I think you shared, it was in our stories. You shared something from somebody's page. I don't remember who, and it's not important, but it was like, if you can't talk about your pussy with your friends, then get new friends.
Or your penis.
Right.
It was the loving guide. The .loving.guide.
When you shared the one for the masculine, right?
I was so happy
I don't
that she did that. No?
ever feel comfortable talking about my penis with my friends. And I'm not really, I remember like in high school wanting to, this is actually probably a fucking trauma. I got my first blowjob in high school. I was 16 or 17 years old. I don't remember how old I was. And it was amazing. I really enjoyed it. Surprise, surprise. After everything was done, there was a football game that night. And I went to the football game so excited to talk to my friends about getting a blowjob. And I was not received in the slightest. It's like I don't know if they were like, I have no idea what they were feeling. All I remember feeling is like, oh my God, I'm the biggest fucking idiot. Like I felt like they looked down on me and were judging me and didn't want to like associate with me anymore because I had gotten a blowjob. And I felt super ashamed. So I don't really talk about sex a lot with friends and or men in general. It's not something that I do. And I do a little bit. I definitely have some friends over the course of my life and things like that where I have been able to, and I felt safe, I guess, in a sense. But man, I mean, we've talked off and on over the years of this podcast about sex and all the different things because it's such a big deal. It really is. It's a really important thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. For
so many different reasons, obviously, but
including the hard, especially the hard conversations.
Yeah. I mean, I think about how many conversations we've had on the podcast about sex as well as outside of the podcast, right? Mm-hmm. And how much work you and I have done in regards to sex and our relationship and in our own personal relationship with sex and ourselves and all these kind of different things. You and I have been actively, consciously working on this stuff probably over the course of the entire relationship that we've had, right?
Yeah.
And we still have times like this. We still have moments like this where we fucking fail miserably and miscommunicate and cause triggers and pain and hurt each other.
But then what happens?
Then we fuck after. Then we connect. Then we come back and it's
those
incredible.
Hard conversations.
Yeah.
That's where the deep connection comes, not being afraid. Like I was afraid for a minute. So it's okay
I'm
that you're
still
afraid. Like still staying with it. It was hard. And like
not in the good sexual innuendo way.
Kool-Aid man right out the window.
Right out the window. Yeah. But we stuck with it.
Yeah. Thank you for sticking with it.
Thank you for sticking with it. There are so many times that I want to talk about stuff on this podcast. And even in the context of our regular life outside of this podcast, And I get so fearful because I don't ever want to hurt you and cause pain. But we have to have those conversations.
We have to.
So have the hard conversations, folks, and record them on a podcast for the world to hear.
Okay, I'm not going to make eye contact for a while.
You're not going to look at the camera.
No.
Go follow us on Instagram. This year is almost over, and we are highlighting all the small businesses that we can just as a way to support those small businesses. So if you have a small business, no matter what it may be, and you would like to be highlighted and promoted on this podcast, please hit us up and reach out. Also, if you subscribe to the show, thank you. And tell somebody about the podcast. The easiest way for anything to ever spread is word of mouth, right? It's been that way since the dawn of time. And it still holds true, even though we can use social media and things like that. But I feel like social media has reached that spot where people just numb out, right?
Yeah.
Very rarely do I actually follow or track down something that somebody says. The majority of the time I'm just scrolling.
Or I forget. I'm like, yeah. And
Right. Then you space it. Or the worst is when you scroll past it and then you go back and it's not there.
Yes.
So that best way to just tell somebody. That's all. That's the best way to share the podcast. Although we'll take all forms of sharing, social media posts and or just telling somebody about the podcast. And thank you so fucking much for supporting the show and listening and all of those different things. Anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
You good?
Good.
Steph out.
Step out.
Stop.
Frog.